Councillor Sayers is, but I just want to call us a mover and a seconder for the local board input. Then I can put on the table. On Councillor Coombe and Councillor Cooper, just for the, and it's been put on the table. All yours, Phelan. Kia ora.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the kind words. I've actually got written here, good morning, so it shows how optimistic I was. Good afternoon. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I definitely don't have 1,000 words for you, but I've been sent a collection of photographs that I've been asked to share with you today. These have been... That's really bad timing. Sorry. It's none of the local board services staff at all. These have been taken by a professional photographer over a number of years. They show the beauty of Muriwai Beach, but they also show the destruction of the environment and behaviours that have become more commonplace over the last few years. So I'm going to try and multitask, so I'm going to just scroll through these as I talk. There are only a few. I think I got about 80 photographs, so I've just kind of taken some highlights here for you. I personally have mixed emotions about access up Muriwai Beach for vehicles. Like hundreds of others, I've enjoyed driving up the beach to fish or surf. But I feel I need to be honest with myself about what I've seen happen over the last 5 years, and we, as an organisation, need to be honest about what we've allowed to happen. At no point over the last few decades has driving in the dunes, camping or lighting fires been permitted. Yet we do need to accept that the primary reason now for thousands of people who visit the beach is driving onto the beach is to go into the dunes, camp and light fires. Along with this comes rubbish dumping, burnt out and abandoned vehicles, recklessly stupid driving, death and injury, and most of all, large-scale environmental destruction of a critically sensitive dune ecosystem and in fact, one of our regional parks. Every week, hundreds of vehicles, and during summer, thousands of vehicles, are coming onto the beach to do the very thing that we have explicitly said we don't want to be done. Again, we need to be clear-eyed about this. I don't think many of these people care about the environmental damage, nor are prepared to understand it. We've tried educational programs and signs. We've tried working with four-wheel drive clubs, and I think, some of them are committed to trying to improve things, but to be fair, it hasn't made the slightest difference. We've not enforced our own bylaws, and we can't with the current arrangements. There's 50 kilometres of beach and dune system, and it would require 10 to 20 staff to effectively patrol and police it. The police have told me that they do not have the resources to provide the level of staffing to deal with an issue that is of our own making. I've been told if it's such a problem, then rather than us divert police away from drug crimes and sexual assaults, why don't you just close the beach to vehicles? And it's a fair comment. The decision you are making today has been painfully slow to reach. I'm personally not convinced it's going to be adequate because the attitudes of a considerable number of beach users who are selfishly ruining for everyone else. They don't care, they won't care, and I suspect our measures will be resisted and ignored. But like so much of what we do, it is a compromise. But let's be clear, it's the environment and wildlife that are doing the compromising here. But perhaps it may help people understand that driving on Muriwai Beach is a privilege, not a right. Driving slowly up to surf, fish or enjoy the wildlife should be okay if it's managed. Thousands of people driving in the dunes and racing up the beach isn't. So we support the recommendations that you have before you today, and happy to take any questions.
Kia ora, Phelan. Thank you so much. So far part I have got Councillor Coombe, Councillor Cooper at the moment, and then I'll check online. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Phelan. Thank you for bringing this to us and making it so clear what the issues are and with these images, and thanks to the photographer who's been documenting it. I mean, I think that's a real environmental crisis that's going on at Muriwai. It's not even a compromise, it's destruction. So I hear that you're saying you support the recommendations, but is there like a next step that actually needs to happen urgently, or do you have any suggestion of what we should be asking officers? Because this sounds like it's just another temporary fix or a bit of a band-aid that might help slightly, but you're saying this isn't actually going to be the solution.
If these measures can be put in place by this Christmas, then it will make a difference over the Christmas period, and it will give staff an opportunity to assess whether putting a gate system in with a permit system is going to make a difference. If it doesn't happen until next year, we're going to just continue seeing this behaviour continue basically for another season. It's probably going to take a year or two to see whether this is actually having an effect on behaviour. It could have a dramatic reduction in vehicle numbers on the beach and behaviour, but it is still going to have to be enforced, and there's still going to have to be staff out there monitoring it, and we don't have a lot of staff to do that. So this provides staff finally with a tool to address some of the compliance issues, but it isn't a total answer. And if it doesn't change behaviour and the behaviour continues, then I guess either you have the opportunity of this to have a sinking lid where eventually everyone will lose their permit, apart from the very few people or the portion of people who are actually following the rules, because there are people who do. But I guess it's a start. But the longer it takes to implement this particular solution that you've got before you today, the longer this will continue on and the more damage that's going to continue to the environment.
Thank you. And if I could just acknowledge your service while I've got this opportunity, and also for being so upfront and really, fronting this issue when it has been quite tricky and difficult for you in your community as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper.
Councillor Cooper.
Thank you. Thanks, Phelan. So we've seen feedback and kind of the distribution of it. You've been on the local board, 9 years? What sort of feedback do you get from people? I'm not just saying the people from the general community, the people that use Muriwai, not with cars, but visit it. Do you get feedback, or is it just the kind of people that think they might have something taken away from you that come and talk to you?
To be honest, it's a mix of views. I think that if we'd been talking about this maybe 6 years ago, I think majority of people going, you don't need to change anything, it's fine. I have found increasingly people who out at Muriwai who've literally been out there for decades and decades, have got to a point, and these are beach users, so people who go surfing and go up the beach to go fishing, have said that they think that it's now got to a point where, in fact, it's so unpleasant just to do the recreational things that something significant needs to change, and that they're prepared to, perhaps forego the freedoms that they previously had to do that. But I have to acknowledge there's some people who are extremely angry about the thought of any change to this at all, and don't see what the problem is. So there is a range of views, right from we don't need to do anything through to why are we even allowing this to happen, it's ridiculous. I think we all need to remember why this has changed. The population has grown in Auckland. The number of people who have access to this, it's grown as a thing. It is now while fishing and surfing might have been a thing previously, now going and honing around in the dunes is a big deal. There's thousands of people who have bought four-wheel drives, modified them, set up camping facilities on the roofs of the vehicles, and that's why they're going to the beach. I think one of the photographs illustrates that. You could see the queues of vehicles. So I think people locally and even four-wheel drivers have said it's out of control and it needs to change.
Thank you. And just a moment to acknowledge your service and actually how courageous you have been, Phelan, in the face of some things. You set a targeted rate, You've done some things where quite often it can feel like there's pushback, but once it's happened, people have been very happy. So I just want to acknowledge your bravery. Thank you.
Any further pātai before we move into whakaaro? Well, no, there won't be any, sorry, it's local board. Not to cut you off just like that, Phelan. But look, thank you so much. It's been moved and seconded. I'll put the recommendation to thank Phelan. All those in favour?
Aye.
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 Against? Carried.